Since I last talked to Dad, I bought a house, I got into school, and I got the car that I wanted that he told me I should never get. Base.
And he doesn't know anything?
No, doesn't care to.
I've reached out to Garrison and Gabriel. I reached out to them just before Christmas, and I reached out to them after. No, they're blocking me. They're not interested in talking to me. 20 years of our family was pretty dysfunctional. And I think because we wanted to be functional, we had a very different attitude about it. We were trying so hard that we believed we were functional, but we weren't.
You know, once Robin entered the family, there was a shakeup, and I don't know if things were ever settled again.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, June 3rd, 2024. You know, it's been 3 months, almost 3 months since the passing of Garrison Brown. And I was over checking my messages on Facebook and I saw that someone was trying to reach out to me from on my personal page, and they were like stuck in my messages, you know, the hidden ones. And it was someone that actually knew Garrison Brown, and they wanted to reach out and just let me know some information about Garrison. And it's interesting because one of the last text messages that Garrison sent was to this person. So this person actually happened to work with Garrison. So Garrison Brown's passing happened on March 4th, 2024. On that day, Garrison actually happened to call in sick to work, and he contacted his friend named Wyatt. In the text message, he let Wyatt know that he wasn't feeling well. He had been dealing with some vomiting and nausea, and he was just going to stay home and he would be at work the next shift. And his friend let him know that that was fine. He would see him soon and that he would and to just take care of himself. This person had no idea that that text message would be their last conversation with Garrison, and the news of his passing actually left Wyatt devastated. And Wyatt reached out to me over on my Facebook account, and initially I was a little bit confused because it's been a couple months, but I realized he had tried to reach out to me in April, but he did respond, and he said that he was a supervisor for Garrison, that Garrison had been working at this hospital or medical facility for a couple months, but that within that time, he and Garrison had gotten to know each other quite well. He was the person that trained Garrison and that was sort of getting Garrison up to speed. And he said that up until that day, Garrison had never called in sick once. The only time Garrison had ever missed work in the couple months that he had been working at this new job was when he had been called out for drills for the National Guard. Other than that, Garrison was always at work. He always had a great attitude. He was super conscientious, wanting to learn as much as possible, completely like a model employee. And so finding out that Garrison was struggling was actually shocking to him. He said, I had no clue. I said, did you have any idea that he was struggling? And he said, not a clue at all. It was a shock to our entire department. And I said, had he ever called in sick like he did that day before? And he said he had not. He said that he was aware when Garrison started his employment that he was from a reality show. However, he didn't watch it himself. His mom had watched it, but at work, it never came up, and Garrison didn't talk about his personal life. It wasn't something that was ever brought up by any of his coworkers. They basically just respect Garrison being Garrison. But I did ask him if there was any information that he would want people to know about Garrison, and this is what he said. He was an amazing person, always happy and eager to learn every day. Him and I had planned to go on a backpacking trip this summer, but unfortunately that won't be the case. He was super smart as well. I wish he was still here. And he said, and I said, I'm so sorry for your loss, and I'm so sorry for your coworker's loss. And he says, it's been a rough couple months. And I let him know about, I said, it's really nice to hear such positive things about him on the show in the past few years. It just hadn't been like that. And Wyatt said, I read a lot about it when he passed away, and I was shocked because he's such a good person. And I said his dad was horrible this past season, and I have no idea how that couldn't have impacted him. And he said it definitely did, and it's sad. As far as his personal life, he mostly kept that to himself. He didn't actually spend a whole lot of time talking about his family. But the biggest thing that he said that he wishes that he could have done is like known that Garrison was struggling and wished that Garrison would have reached out to him and wished that he could have helped him, because he said he would have helped him had he known that Garrison was struggling. And he said that he had no clue that Garrison had any problems with alcohol. So his roommates did say that he drank every day, that he was dealing with an alcohol abuse disorder, or that he was an alcoholic and that he was struggling to quit drinking. But when it came to work, he was completely functional. He said he wasn't ever drunk at work. He literally had no clue that Garrison was having any problems with drinking. He even said that he went out drinking one night with Garrison after work, and they had a couple drinks together, and there was like literally no indication whatsoever from his perspective that Garrison had any problems with alcohol, had any emotional problems, had any struggles at all in his life, that he was making plans for his future, that he seemed really optimistic about what was going on, and that he was just a really good guy. And he just didn't, no one from work, no one from that side of his life had any clue that Garrison drank heavily or was dealing with any mental or emotional hangups. You know, I think it's easy when we talk about Garrison, and I think it's easy when you see reports. It's very easy to disconnect from a story and be like, oh, you know, it was the alcohol, it was a substance use disorder, or it was the depression, or it was Kody, or it was whatever, like all these different things that caused him to go down that route. But Garrison, from the way that his colleague and his supervisor at work is describing it, masked everything incredibly well, made his colleagues feel like everything was fine, never gave them any warning signs, had never called in sick before that day, had never had any issues at work, was constantly doing and going above and beyond at work, very similar to the way that he was described by the Army National Guard. So it would appear that while he was struggling with alcohol, he was still functioning. And I suppose there's a difference between someone that's at a level of a functional, you know, where they can still go out through their day-to-day and then they get home from work and they start drinking. And then there's other people as they get deeper into their, you know, substance problems where they can't function anymore, where they can't make it to work, where they can't keep up with their responsibilities. But he was managing all of these different responsibilities. He was going to school, he was working full time, he was doing the Army National Guard, and he was drinking. So as much as I want to say that, yes, it was drinking that caused this, or that, you know, drinking, because the coroner did say that drinking played a role, I don't know how long he had been struggling with drinking. And it doesn't seem like this was something that people in his life knew about. And, you know, it's hard when you think about the fact that Garrison had a whole life that we knew nothing about. He had friends like Wyatt that only knew him for a couple months, but he touched very deeply, that had made plans with him. This was a kid that had the ability to make people feel like they were the most important person in the world, that they were, you know, deeply connected to him. And then also someone that had the weight of the world on him, but wasn't telling anyone about it. So in a lot of ways, I've talked to other people that knew Garrison. I get the sense of Garrison that he was the kind of guy that was like there for everyone else. And he was constantly being there for everyone else, being the big brother, being the best son, doing everything to help his mom, trying to help his siblings, trying to go to school, being the best at work, being the best in the National Guard, trying to constantly help other people. And then when it came to himself and asking help for himself, he couldn't or wouldn't or didn't know how to ask. And you'll never know if someone is struggling if you don't see all aspects of their lives, if they're not telling you, and if they're, you know, masking it this well. And it sounds like really only the people that knew him the most or lived with him had any clue that this was happening, had any idea that he was struggling. Other friends have posted on their social media as well that they had no idea and that he had never contacted them or reached out to them for help. And it sounds like there was all these people in his life that did want to help him, if they only would have known. And I used to, like, when I started covering the story, I thought, gosh, if only he had reached out for help, or if only his friends had reached out for help. But it sounds like it's just not even that simple. Like, he was very good at making people feel like everything was okay, especially the people that were in his professional life, especially the people at school, especially the people where he was like outside of his home life, outside of his little window of roommates and his family. No one else knew, and no one was, really telling anyone else about it. And it wasn't interfering in his ability to do his commitments with school and work. I wish so much that Garrison was still here, and I wish for his friends that they weren't in such pain. And I just wanted to share with you that he has friends still today that are struggling, that love him, and that just want people to know that even though Kody said these things about Garrison and acted like Garrison was this way, or that made Garrison look like this belligerent kid, his former employer said he was amazing, awesome, always super positive, always wanting to help others, and was a friend to everyone. And now he's actually left his former coworkers devastated and struggling. So that's my update on Garrison. If you are someone that's also struggling with these thoughts or feelings, or you are, the kind of person that does everything for everyone else and doesn't do anything for yourself, make sure you take time for yourself. Make sure that if you are struggling, you speak to your doctor, reach out to friends or family, or if you're having these kinds of thoughts, don't hesitate to contact 988 for resources, and know that you are not alone and you can get through this, and there's help available. All right, you guys, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear your comments about this news from his employer. Are you surprised and not surprised to know that he was able to kind of push everything together? What are your thoughts about his friend saying that it's evident to him that even though Garrison didn't tell him that issues with his family were impacting him, that could have caused Garrison to feel down? And what are your thoughts about learning a little bit more about Garrison at work? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click on the bell so you never miss a video. Bye, guys.